This is just a quick little video to go over a DIY kit if you order one from me, and it will go over what comes in the kit, what are some extra supplies that you might need, and how to decorate using the piping bags, and I'll show you some tips and tricks to creating some beautiful sugar cookies. So enjoy! All right, so let's take a look at what comes in most DIY kits. Your DIY kit might not look exactly like this one, but majority will be the same, just different colors, different cookies, different sprinkles, but everything works together, and you can use this as an example even though it's not exact. So you have your icing. These are in disposable piping bags, and this is glaze icing, so it's just powdered sugar, corn syrup, and water, and it will dry just like royal icing or just like any of the decorated cookies that you see, but it has a little bit different taste. You have your cookies. These are just regular sugar cookies. These are vanilla with a little bit of lemon zest in them, and these are basically like a shortbread cookie. So they're nice and sturdy and will hold up to the icing, which is really important because the icing does add quite a bit of heaviness to the cookie. You'll have some sprinkles of some sort. You might have 2, you might have 3. And the bags of icing also, you might have more than those colors, you might have less, but still it's going to work the same. And then usually you'll have some sort of catch tray, whether that's this little snack tray, these little paper snack trays, or it might be just a paper plate. That is just for you to use when we go to use these sprinkles so that you don't make a mess. And then you'll have some toothpicks and you'll have a paper towel. So that's what's included in your DIY kits when you order from CR Confections. Extra things that you might need is a pair of scissors to cut the bags, and we'll talk about that shortly, as well as you might want some sort of click pin, and I'll tell you what that's for. If you don't have a click pin, just any sort of pin that will give you some reference point, because we're going to use this distance here to help us cut our bags. All right, so first thing we have to do is cut our bags. And this is one of those things that you want to really err on the side of cutting small and working your way up to the bag that you work best with. And you don't want to cut too big, because once you cut it big, obviously you can't go backwards. So it's much easier to work your way up to a certain size than it is to go backwards. But a good point to start with is the click pin. So when you click out a click pin, you see that this distance from where the actual pin starts, and then the tip of the ink, that is a great measurement to cut your bag. So if you want to use the pin as help, I just take my bag and I hold my bag in one hand, and my pin is going to also be in that same hand. And I'm just kind of using my fingers to help. And it's probably a little hard to show on camera, but I'm just wanting the pin to be, as level with my bag, as equal with it as I can. And this will just help me make the cut. Make sure that your scissors are a good pair of scissors. Sometimes it's really hard when you have kind of a dull pair of scissors and you make a cut and then you have to cut it again because it didn't quite cut it. So just kind of make sure you have a good pair of scissors. And I just tend to kind of eyeball it. You can also flatten out your bag, because it's kind of hard to cut these bags when they're rounded, when they're kind of full of air. So I just kind of flatten it out a little bit, and then I just cut where that pin was. So you can see I cut about that much off. And this is a great starting point for your piping bags. And I'm just going to pipe a line just so that you can kind of see. This is about the same thickness as that pin is. The actual like ink insert or the ink part of the pen, it's about that big around. If that helps with any visual, you could even say it's almost like the size of the toothpick if you wanted to compare that. This is a great diameter or a great cut to start with. You're probably going to end up cutting your bag again to flood, but this is a great one to start with. So let's cut the rest of our bags. because we don't just have one bag, we have all of them. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball that again, cut that off. And I like to do this all at the beginning so that I can see where my little pieces go, because see there's two of them right there. And I like to know where those go so they don't just kind of pop off into my cookie. Okay, so I have all three of them here. I know where they are and I can throw them in the trash. So now we have all of our bags cut. They're all ready to go and we can get started on actual decorating cookies. Let's talk about a few things that you have in your kit and what their purpose is. So we talked about already about our paper plate or our paper little snack tray. That is to help us catch sprinkles. That is what that is for. So you've got that. You've got your sprinkles that are in little covered containers. That way you can reuse them and you can put them back into these containers so that you don't spill them. Toothpicks. Toothpicks are going to be used to help us to create techniques. They are not there for you to move icing around the cookie. That is something that is really does not create a nice smooth cookie. So definitely try to keep the toothpicks to helping you create some drag techniques we're going to talk about, or maybe you need to kind of pull out a corner because it's not quite sharp enough. But other than those few things, you really shouldn't use your toothpick to spread any icing or move any icing. Use your piping bag for that. Paper towel. You can see I did this mark on this bird a second ago. I wiped it off and then I just wiped it onto my paper towel. That's basically what the paper towel is going to be for. Maybe to wipe off the tips of your bags if they get any icing in them or if they're kind of dirty at the tip. We always want to start with a clean bag or a clean tip. And our icing tends to kind of leak out so as we go along, so you want to make sure that you kind of clean those off. You can use any sort of slight incline. I have my stand here that my phone is on. It has like a base on it, and I'm just going to use that to kind of have my bags lay here at an incline. You could use like a plate, or even like just silverware or some sort of utensil. You could even use your scissors, you know, here that we just used. I just like to have something that my bags, I'll model it here. I just like to have something that my bags can lay on an incline. That way the icing doesn't leak out everywhere. This icing will continuously come out of the bag, and before you know it, you've got a huge mess going somewhere. So if you do something like this where you just have them laying on an incline, it definitely helps keep the icing in the bag and not on your table.